Occasionally I have neighbors ask me to do favors for them and fix things up or do some welding or whatever, which is a little bit odd because, you know, the Capitol building is 14 miles that away. So you wouldn't expect that here, but hey, I guess it happens anywhere. So one of my neighbors, Tom, asked me to weld a trailer receiver hitch, which is this guy, to this 3/8 inch thick steel plate, which is a bumper off a tractor. Basically the idea is to weld it on like this. So effectively what I've already done is I've taken the propane torch and I've burned this powder coating off, which is a video I have. If you haven't seen it, I'll post a link up above. And the next step, I didn't actually go nuts with it because I didn't want to waste a whole can of propane. So I just basically focused on this area here. So it probably isn't going to brush off too well like you saw in the other video, but you know, we'll just take a cup brush and we'll get it clean. So the first step is obviously to clean this. The next step will be to bevel this, and then we'll go inside and we'll start welding. So it looks like it was made from hot roll. So that means I'm going to take a flap disc to it and just cut through the mill scale. Safety shield on. Torch makes all the difference. So now let's bevel these edges here. Get this guy out of the way. Nothing removes steel faster than a flap disc. If you don't have one, get you one. Works real well. So now we have this beveled down, which gives us a great place for the weld to go. I'm going to lay this out and we're going to go over to the welding bench. I'll catch you inside. Alright, if you're like me and you can't really justify a Lincoln or a Miller TIG welder and you got to make do with a Chinese machine like my Alpha TIG here, you can do some pretty good work. You just have to realize that TIG welding is really all about cleanliness, fit up, and comfort. So if you're like me, you're a bit on the shaky side. I'm definitely a bit on the shaky side. You know, the more support I have a really cool strong hand tools armrest, which I may or may not use for this depending on how this goes. But really, it's all about getting as much support as possible. So let's go ahead and lay down some tacks. I'm going to use, I think this is 1/16 filler, but I have 1/8 inch filler, which I don't really have an opportunity to use a whole lot. And this is the perfect thing. It's welding 3/8 inch steel to 1/4 inch steel. It's pretty thick. You could stick weld this. This machine's not that great at stick welding, and TIG is a little bit neater, and I prefer to do it anyway, so that's the direction I'm going to go. A lot of times with something like this, if this plate was thinner, there would be a strong possibility that this thing might bend up this way when it cools off, because, you know, after you weld it expands, but then it cools off and it bends this way. With this 3/8 inch thick steel plate, I kind of doubt that's going to happen, but only one way to find out. So the first thing I like to do is I like to hit the foot pedal a little bit, just with the torch no place, so I can get some argon flowing. And I probably use too much argon. You know, this is about 16 CFH. It's a bit much, but you know what? When you're like me, you need all the help you can get. So let's see if we can get this in a good spot. Let's see what we can do here. Okay. It's not a bad tack, but I think I need to darken this because I couldn't actually darken the shade. I was at almost 10, but with this kind of an arc I really need to see the puddle, so it needs to be darker. Alright, let's do at least one more tack before we move this thing around. With the 1/16, I'm going to put it up here. It's not bad. Certainly enough where this thing isn't going to go anywhere now. Alright, so as I mentioned, it is all about comfort. So let's go ahead and position this guy in a place where I can run a good bead with this big giant. You know what? Let's go ahead and put the clamp on the actual receiver hitch. Again, we've got our 1/8 inch filler rod. I'm going to have to be a good distance away to stay away from the camera. Let's see if I can pull this off. This is basically just lay wire technique. It's not a perfect start, but I really got to get this camera somewhere else. So those of you who've seen my garage know I'm definitely space challenged, so I'm going to have to try to stand and do this. Not something I'm particularly good at. Let's give it a shot. It's not bad, actually. We got good penetration, we got plenty of heat. Let's see what we can do for the sides. I would kill to have more than 2 square feet of space to do this in. All right. I'm using my crustier TIG welding gloves because I know that this is going to get real hot. Oof. It's also gunking up my torch pretty bad. And that's from the powder coat that just caught fire. Alright, for this side we can at least sit down. Let's see if I can somehow position this where I can run at least a little bit of a straight line. Man, with that much current, it gets hot. Real hot. Alright, as you can see, there's a little bit of undercut. With heat like this, it's going to take some time, mostly because you just got to let it cool off, because otherwise you're going to burn your hands even inside the TIG gloves. I'm probably going to run another bead around the outside of the whole thing when it's done. Let's go back to the game of, can you fixture this thing on a small Harbor Freight welding table? By the way, I have a bunch of these foam blocks. Occasionally they'll burn, but for the most part they're great for this. Let's get the ground clamp out of the way. Yeah, probably happier this way. All right. Let's go ahead and extend the camera now. Now here I should have a pretty good run at this thing. I would love for it to be more like this. It's not a bad weld, but we missed a spot right there. Let's see if we can get it. Basically, all I'm doing with the torch, I'm just laying the wire in and I'm just working the torch up and down in a small weave pattern. I can tell you though, even the torch cable's getting hot with this much power. All right. We filled that in, that looks good. We feel the all right. Let's get the clamp out of the way. I feel like we're starting to get this figured out. Clampy clamp. Alright, that's not too bad either. So basically now I'm just going to go over everything. and fill it in. I don't really see necessarily a need for a second pass, but I probably will do it. But the big thing is, right in here, there's a couple of small divots. Here I didn't get the flow up high enough. It's just basically going around one more time. And I don't think we've seen any significant warpage. So first, let's fix this mess over here. Alright, I feel better about that. Nice thing with TIG welding is that it's really easy to go over it a few times if you need to. Alright, now you probably saw that I spent a little bit of time dwelling here. I wasn't getting good flow. I still see a couple of areas. At least there's no porosity happening. That's not bad. That should be more than adequate. Still just want to clean up here. Okay, so where the real stressor is going to be, and you can tell that my, even though I didn't dip the tungsten, it does occasionally get filled up with crap. And that's kind of what's happening here. So the sides are more than robust enough. What I'm probably going to do is do a piece along the top here. Do like a second weld right along this edge. In fact, let me go ahead and clean off the tungsten, or at least just regrind it. Man, even the colic is getting distorted. Nice thing about working with steel is it's much more forgiving than aluminum is. Especially in terms of cleanliness and all that happy jazz. So where I really want to reinforce is along the top, which is kind of a shame because we have a nice looking weld there, but braking is not looking good. Only reason why I stopped there is the glove's starting to get rather toasty. But you can see that's a pretty robust weld. That's pretty strong. There's no way he's going to break that. He said the most it's going to see is 500 pounds of load. So we just got to finish this off here and make sure we hit that corner. Tom breaks this. I think he's gonna bend this before that breaks off. I'm just gonna do one sort of beauty pass over it and just kind of smooth it out a little bit without any filler. There you go. That's one big fat TIG weld. No way he breaks that. And it's clean. Just some mild, whatever degree burns that is. But she looks good. She looks really good, actually. Happy with that. Let's see how I'm feeling about what's happening here. Still not loving that. But you know what? The real load is going to be up here, not here. I suppose I could go over that for cosmetic reasons. Now there's a little bit of porosity in that. You could hear it snapping, but I still think we're good. She doesn't look bad. That's for sure. Not bad for an amateur. Pretty happy with that. It's a double pass here, single passes on the sides. Doesn't look bad at all, does it? Should clean up nice. The underside's a little ugly, but again, no need to clean it up. So there you go. It's back to Tom. This obviously didn't bend, certainly not enough to pinch this rod. I think he'll be happy with it. There's going to be a lot more of this stuff, a lot more electric turbo stuff coming up, so don't forget to ring the bell and subscribe. Catch you on the next one.